Okay, so good afternoon, everybody. Oh, look, we've even got a little slideshow in the background, bit of music as well. Let's talk motivation. That one. I know a lot of us, well, not are struggling with motivation, but we all go through waves of motivation, and motivation is not as simple as you might initially think, right? So I'd like to talk through from a few different angles what motivation is, the psychology behind it, like the behavior, the engagement, how it can actually work with you and for others, because you have intrinsic, meaning internal based motivations, and extrinsic, external. We are, as human beings, tend to rely, and this is personality based, very much on one rather than the other, and that can create issues. So we're going to talk through a few things like that, and then what some things are that you can take away to help your motivation that you may not have considered. So what I might do is I might let's just take my little logo away, take that one away. Okay, and let's just fade that one away. Oh, I'm getting good at this. Figuring things out every single time. I need a better webcam. This green screen, it doesn't like that green screen very much. It doesn't mind the other one. Okay, so let's look. I've got a UV little window capture here, and I'm going to put this off to the side so I can actually see what I'm doing, and we're going to open this up. Okay, let's turn that on so you guys can see it as well. So I'll give you the website that a lot of this stuff is coming from. Oh, here we go. So this is from positivepsychology.com, and I've done a lot of digging around because I've got a lot of motivational books and stuff that I read for my own interest, and also the stuff that I've just done to help with my own coaching and speaking, particularly when I worked as an engineer, just to get around how to get different personality types to engage with you when you speak to them, because not everyone uses the same internal drives. So motivation, look, it's as it says here. I'm going to talk through it if you want to read with me. So motivation, it's an internal process, right? It's one of those things where it's need based. You are motivated to do something because you are deficient in it. Usually. So things like you're motivated to go and get something to eat because you're hungry, or you're motivated to go and get something to eat or get something to drink because you're thirsty. They're two really, really basic examples. Or you might need, you feel like you want to do something fun. So whatever you find fun, that's your driving factor, right? And I'm going to turn that off because that's really, really distracting me. Cool. So as we go through all these different needs and different drives, they're not all need-based in terms of keeping yourself alive, like must-dos. Some of them are things like so fun and enjoyment, right? That changes. Kids run around, they jump, and they yell and scream, and just because it's fun. Like, that's an intrinsic type of motivation. Some people thrive on challenge. This is a big one for me. So when athletes or performers sort of like, when you get in the zone and your skills are being pushed, and whether you succeed or fail, the fact that you've got to push, that's a big one. I really thrive on that one. Everyone seems to think motivation is this internal drive, like this, oh my God, I'm going to get up and conquer the world, and it's all passion. That's one, but it's definitely not the main one for most of us. I have an acrobatic friend called Banks. Her whole life, she loves every single thing that she does, and you can see it in her eyes. She just has this passion with whatever it is she's doing. She could be going shopping and she's loving every single second. She smiles and laughs. She just takes so much vibe from being alive. Not all of us work that way. She's a very emotional, on the sleeve kind of person. But again, I don't. Not at all. There are some things where that does work for me. And for, say, when we're in a really, really tough workout, as we're starting to, like, my body is starting to hit the wall and I'm starting to hit thresholds, I get really emotional then. And that's where I don't want to talk to anyone. I want to take myself on, and that's when I get passionate. That's when I really use that kind. But again, for everybody else, there are different things to do. Like, you might be forced to do something, forced to exercise. Like, this is a big one, you know, and athletes or you guys might do an exercise because I tell you to. You know, and I don't mean that as an order, just like I go, here's the workout, and so you go and do it. You know, that's the motivation because the PT has said go and do it. Some other ones, which is really quickly, like accomplishing a goal. Like, you're like, okay, well, I've always wanted to learn a language, and the feeling of success when you do that, you can be inspired by seeing somebody else. That's another big one for me. So I'm going to talk through a few things. You can use negative. They don't all have to be positive. Very carefully, you can use negative interactions as well to help fuel, right? So you can get you can have the emotional one. So we kind of spoke about that. That works both positive and negative. You can feel really positive about a cause or a drive. You can feel down about it too. Like, maybe you don't like the way that something on your body looks. That can be a motivator, you know. It's not a positive one, but a negative one, as long as it's not your main driving factor, can work just as well, right? Maybe you want to alleviate guilt. Like, yeah, this worked for me a few times. Like, Alex really helped me with a couple of these. Like, I got up in the morning and I was like, I don't want to exercise. Like, I'm not feeling my jam. I logged on to Facebook. Alex Jane has just, has got in, chucked her workout out. And I'm like, yeah, okay. So I got inspired by her actions, and then I alleviated my own guilt. Again, that's not a positive one. I mean, Alex inspiring me, that is. Me alleviating the guilt about not exercising, hey, it works. Again, I don't like to use that as my main motivational drive, but it got me to do what was required, right? So we spoke a little bit before about your motivators are going to be intrinsic and they're going to be external. So when you're talking about the psychology of motivation, you can basically break motivation down. So it's measured, because science is all about measuring things, right? Like, we can talk about, what works for me and what works for you, and how it works. It becomes detectable by someone's behavior, the level of engagement in what they're doing, the neural activation, and then what we call psychophysiology. A lot of big words in there, right? Essentially, you can measure by, is someone's behavior positively geared towards achieving a goal? Are they truly engaged in what they're doing, or are they doing the bare minimal? How much are they thinking about what they're doing? And then we'll talk a little bit about psychophysiology, which is how your body reacts to what you're doing. So kind of like your physical tells about what you're doing, right? So behavior, so this is the most obvious one. Is someone really enjoying what they're doing is one, you can almost break behavior down a little bit more into things like intensity, like how present is someone. Body attack or even classes in general is a great example, because people will very openly wear their emotions on their face. And that's what I love about group fitness. Body attack in particular, people will show you when they're having a great time, smiles and dance moves. And you can see in track 9, people are busted. Like the teeth are coming out. You can see visible strain. They are engaged. They are enjoying the intensity. So some people like that. Other people really love to dance in, things like body attack, or even just dance in general. Like, yeah. I don't know where I was going to add on to that, but that's essentially what behavior is. And then we can talk about engagement as well. So let's say we talk about, we'll do it from a coaching scenario, right? So you've got a really good coach, who's enthusiastic and contributes to how a conversation before a workout might go. So a lot of the time, how I present my workouts to you is tailored to the 4 different personality types, and that's a conversation for another time. But I'm often very, very careful in how I deliver my explanations on my workouts. It's rehearsed. So it's off the cuff, but I've thought about what I want to say. So some people love the challenge. Like, John, Lydia, you guys are the first ones who come to mind who thrive on seeing something that is really hard. So often I will phrase it, or at least some aspect of the workout, to suit you guys. Other people, want to see where the fun side, the fun aspect of a workout might be. So things like handstand walks against the wall and reverse bear crawls, that element of chaos, some people thrive on that too. I've just realized I probably shouldn't have put personal examples in here, so sorry, John and Lids. I'll keep personal examples out of it. But yeah, those are how you engage with different personality types, and I will sometimes be, super open and friendly. Sometimes I'll be very serious. Other times I'm a little bit chaotic. It's all deliberate, depending on what I want the workout to achieve. So the big one that got probably the most varied reaction was the finisher, where I had a workout on the whiteboard. It was pretty savage by itself, and then got everyone on the treadmills and the bikes and went, cool, because you guys are elite athletes. And I turned the whiteboard around and it had the same workout on the other side, just everything was doubled. That was gold, and I had planned that for weeks. And to see some people, big smiles, like, you bugger. And other people just, oh my God, like that brought out the engagement. Like, everyone was in, regardless of what the reaction was. People were in, like right in. I'm going to make myself a little bit bigger here. Let's just put this up. I'm too busy being in the corner. All right, and whoop, there we go. Cool. So psychophysiology. So there's basically 5 expressions physically for how people are motivated. So you can look at things like there's hormonal activity, so that plays a big part, and that goes for both men and women. Like, we go through hormone cycles. So obviously some days you are just raring to go, and this is a big one. People often rely on how they feel physically. So if you're feeling a bit, sluggish and down, and you pull on that. And you think, oh man, I'm not feeling it. I thought it was fitter than this. It's got nothing to do with that. It's your hormone levels. And often that's where you need to realize that and be like, I have actually got this. And once I get going, I'm going to be okay. Cardiovascular activity. So that's where that theory of once you get going, you're okay. So when you get the blood moving and you get an increased oxygen through your body, you get endorphin flow, your brain becomes more oxygenated, your muscles warm up, and then all of a sudden you realize, yeah, I can actually move and I'm going to be okay. And therefore you get a motivational boost out of that. So the representation of the more that you move, so the more that you're moving around, the more motivation and the more your physiology will respond. So ocular activity, so it's basically your eye behavior. You can see how engaged someone is by, are their eyes, are there to the extent of their pupil size, how much someone blinks, eye movements. Like, if I'm talking to you now, am I looking down the camera? I'm really bad at this in terms of actually directly looking at someone, unless I'm doing a deliberate speech type scenario. Some people really like being looked at, and other people don't like a direct look, and you've got to pick and choose that. So in classes, I tend to do a little bit glass-eyed and gaze over everybody at once, so everyone feels like I'm talking to them. Sometimes I will specifically engage, and I'll usually throw a name out when I do that. But that can be really important as well. So it's how, and you can see from other people too, if I turn and look at them, and even just briefly, and if someone averts their eyes, that can be a symptom of how motivated they are. Electrodermal activity, your skin. When you get, what do you get? There's a name, it's not pins and needles, but essentially that, particularly when someone frightens you and you get, the hair on end, and you get that electric jolt through your skin, or maybe you listen to that emotional piece of music and that happens. I get that with music a fair bit. That's your body responding in a physical manner to motivation. So some music, particularly for me, I get it with harmonic type music, and a lot of techno has those harmonic notes in it, and I thrive on that. That gets my skin feeling alive, and it draws a big emotional response. And the final one is skeletal activity. So are they shifting around? Like, is someone, are they a bit antsy? Are they facing you straight on? Or are they sort of turning away or trying to shuffle away while you're talking? All those things are different levels of motivation engagement. Now, I've spoken a lot about that. I'm going to hurry up. So the motivational model, essentially all motives are internal and external. So it's a need, a cognition, or it's emotional based. So internally, right, it's you realize that you need something, or you want something, or you're emotionally driven to something. This is how most people are motivated. They think, I want to be better at that. Cool, I want. Or the other one is I need. Need is different to want. So need is I need to lose weight because doctor said so, or I need to eat something because hungry and will die. Need and want is different. Need is a stronger motivation because there are direct consequences if you don't. Want is at a level where if you don't do it, there are not immediate consequences. That's the difference usually between need and want. The other ones are, so you've got external. So external is when your motivation is affected by someone like me. So you have all your friends, someone else comes in, like that's why Triton is done usually in a physical group. And I'm trying really hard to keep this motivation together, even though we're not as a group. I want us to have that group feeling because being able to draw on other people's drive is huge. I'm a big believer that we do not use external motivation as much as we should. Most people do not. They're afraid, like when you put posts up on Facebook, people are, and this is a bit of an indication on our social society, they are afraid of retribution or judgment, so they don't do it. And whereas in our group is a safe space, and you can see that people put their workout up, and then you put that there, this has a twofold effect. You're putting your workout there, which is motivating other people, and as a consequence, other people then say, hey, good job, that was an excellent workout, go you, and you get a feedback from that. So if you have the right external situations, that can be a really positive force. And I really truly believe that Triton is a wonderful force for that. You can then also have, external things like music. So music is a big one. People go running with music. In some sports, you actually have to train not to run with music, because triathlon, you are not allowed to use music for safety. So you have to actually learn how to motivate yourself without that. You can use, if it's raining, if it's sunny, all those things, and you need to be aware of that. One of the big things is, they say pack your bag the night before. Yeah, because if you've got to roll out of bed and you've got to pack all your stuff, that is an external motivation. Like, it's not done. Whereas if you get out and your gear is there and you go, yeah, cool, all right, let's do it. So those things are huge, and that's not as obvious as you think. External has the broadest range and some of the easiest things to implement. We don't. We just rely on, we're like, I don't feel like I want to be a superhero today. You don't have to be. Your internal motivation is your weakest force. Use the external. Have someone on Instagram that you really like, or whatever it is, and see, what have they done today? Have someone in America, so that when you wake up, they've done something and you can have a look. Right, I've been talking a lot. So if we basically, that's essentially what motivation is and how it works. So motivational problems, how we get around it is understanding what your main driver is. For most people, you rely on your own internal motivation. For some of us, that works really well. For others, it really does not. And you need to understand, do you need more internal motivation or do you need more external motivation? So if you are someone who thrives on having other people to work out with other people. Set that up. Don't rely on someone to message you. Message them. Know that you need that. Or if failing that, do something. Don't just literally take the one example I'm using, but do something that means you're going to get up. Have an external force. Get someone to send you a message. Schedule a message from now you to the morning you, so that when you wake up, like literally type yourself a message and set it so that you get your own message at 6 a.m. Things like that make a massive difference. It sounds corny. Think outside the box. We're so bolted into, oh, I can't find anyone else to work out with. There are so many other external ways. Have it so that there's your alarm, on a certain day, you've got eye the tiger as soon as you wake up. All those things. And it's amazing how much people say, oh, that doesn't work, without trying it. Now, on the flip side, if you're really good at doing all the external stuff and you need the internal, this is hard, because internally you need to be very mindful of how you think, how you feel. Know that that is often a chemically driven balance. So maybe you haven't had coffee yet, so you don't feel quite energized, knowing that once you get moving, you're going to feel a bit better, like you will feel a bit motivated. Like even John and I running this morning, we literally both looked at each other and went, yeah, the first case sucks, because your body's a bit sore and you're not quite feeling it yet. After 1K, God, it feels good. So understand what you're lacking, what you thrive on mainly, and use it. Talk to me. Absolutely. Like, I always throw out the invitation for use me. People think that you can only come and talk to me in Triton sessions. No, man. Anytime you want, you send me a message, you can give me a phone call. If I can answer, I will. If I can't, I won't. I'll get back to you as soon as I can, though. 100%. That is my commitment to you guys as Tritons. If you message me or you call me and I can answer, I will. And if I can't immediately, I will get back to you. So use me as motivation, because that's my job. Have I missed anything? There's some references, on books and things, but, we might not talk. Yeah. I think the biggest take home from this, right? The biggest take home is it's not as simple as people think. In terms of internal motivation, people think it's a matter of wanting something enough, and there's a lot of social media stuff that goes out there verifying that incorrectly. It's if you want it enough, you'll get it, and it's true. It's not wrong, but it doesn't work for everyone, and it doesn't work for you all the time. Wanting something is really good. But knowing yourself and how to get around emotional motivation is really big too. Because from a passion point of view, it can be really, really hard. Because sometimes we're not truly passionate about someone if you're not that kind of person. I get passionate about my workouts, like I said, when it's super challenging, like when I really threshold myself, then I get passionate. Otherwise, I don't. I'm just not that kind of guy. You can use negative motivations as well, and I'll use two examples. When I was younger, so at uni, I was a lot less fit than I am now. I was borderline 100 kilos. In fact, there was a little while there where I was over 100 kilos, and not in a good way, because and I remember, like, what changed it for me was I just got the shits one day and started running. And not far. It was like 1K, not even that. And then it was 2Ks, and then it was 3Ks, and it sucked. But I started seeing results, and it was just, someone said to me, and there are two things I am never, ever going to forget. And a really good mate of mine that I was living with at the time, and he didn't mean anything by this. He was doing rugby and he was fit as hell at the time, and was like everything that you'd want to be physically, right? And he just said, mate, you don't have the body type that will ever have abs. I will never forget that, because at the time I didn't know any better, and it just didn't make sense to me, and even he was kind of right. Like, there's no such thing as not being able to have it. You can change your body type, and it took years. It really did. But I will never, ever forget that. And I'm very pleased to say that he was absolutely wrong, and it It can be done, and it takes time, but yeah, that was a big one. That was a big one, and I took that, put fire in me more than anything. And then another one, the positive one, was once I'd started this journey, there was an acrobatic school. This is how I learned all my acro stuff, that opened up on the Gold Coast, and me and a friend started going just out of interest. And the day that we walked in to have a look, they'd only just opened, and just coincidentally, they had a guy there. And as we walked in, he did a standing backflip. And I saw that, and I just went, I would give anything to be able to do that. And again, it took years. So you would have seen that video that I put up a day or two ago of doing the standing backflip on the oval. That goal for me meant more than I can say. Because I remember the day that I got it, because when I first walked into that gym, I could do a cartwheel. That's about it. And I've done gymnastics as a kid, and I was okay at it. Wasn't good, but I was okay. And I got to a point, and I just, yeah. But the day that I got it, that was emotional for me, and there were tears that day. And I didn't show anyone, but it was more that night when I got home. It sounds silly. It sounds so silly that had such a meaningful impact, but I think a lot of that is where Assume It's Possible, the name, the phrase, comes from. You can have these goals that look utterly impossible, and that, more than anything, to me, showed you can do anything. You can. It's a matter of, what do you want to give up to put the time in? What do you want to give up to achieve what matters to you? And there were days where I stacked it and hurt myself, and yeah, it was hard, but there. So those are two things that really, really motivate me, and they taught me lessons about how motivation works. So have a think about what matters to you, either something that has happened or something you want to happen. And what does it mean? It doesn't have to emotionally exhibit anything for you, but achieving that goal, what will that mean? Yeah, we might finish it there. So I'll bring my window back up really quickly. Let's bring this back up. So this website, and I'll put it in the post, is positivepsychology.com/what-is-motivation. It is a really good read. So a lot of what I just spoke about came from here. So there are things here and they use reasons to exercise, types of motivation. So this is what I was referencing. So things like, you want to accomplish a goal, inspiration, pursuit of a standard of excellence. So that's, again, what most athletes are driven by. The satisfaction of a job well done. I thrive on that big time. Emotional, yeah, sometimes. Puts you in a good mood, yeah. So have a read. I actually really, really, really recommend that you have a 5-minute skim through here. And then as you go down, you can talk about things like, there's the psychophysiology stuff, the brain activations, and then the motivational process. If you read nothing else, motivational model, motivational process. Two really, really good ones. Cool. We might stop it there. Thanks for listening, whenever it is that you did, and see how this works for you. You won't change things overnight, but you can change. I like that phrase. It doesn't happen overnight, but you can change. If you ever want to reach out and you want to talk and you have plans and you want me to write some goals out and a training program based on achieving something, lots of guys are already doing that. Josh has done it. Shane's done it. There's a lot of guys who, I've got to say not guys as in male only, but there's a lot of tritons who have picked big, scary goals and are working on them. That's awesome. Okay, we'll stop it there. Bye, guys. Have a wonderful evening.